New podcast, Stash Weekly. Thanks for joining.
Shut up and sit down.
We're gonna do some jazzercise that'll keep you fit and smiling, sugar. Come on and shake that cute little booty of yours. Ow! You gotta get up and boogie with this, honey. Yeah.
You think you're alive, but have you ever been for a ride on my bike?
To move your boogie body, come on and shake those hips.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Durow. Richard Simmons once said everyone in this world is somehow connected, so why not just be nice to everybody? Preach on, Richard.
Push it, pull it, yeah! Come on, find your pelvis. I know you've got one, and it's okay to move it, for heaven's sake. Yes! Here's a little coffee break for you. And something that's great for those thighs as well. Good to the very last drop.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Durow. I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Hepler, right here in studio.
What?
Shazam!
Oh, God, is this new? I don't want that.
Okay, acceptable introductions. Lance Romance,
Yeah,
Lance No Pants.
Those are both acceptable.
Lance Romance No Pants. He could have both if he
Shazam
wants.
does not make the cut.
I don't know.
Lance Shazam. Well, actually, that kind of rings.
I don't know.
Lance
Shazam with the mustache kind of works. But
Shazam Lance.
the mustache kind of makes anything work, so.
Yeah.
Hep
it's not fair.
Shazam. Shazam Hep. No.
I had to
those
trim
are-
this thing.
Dr.
this week.
Shazam. We go Dr. Shazam. I like that.
Dr. Shazam. Yeah, the mustache did get a little trimmed this week.
Did the curls?
I can
Not the
tell,
curls.
Okay, good.
The curls are still good, but all the part over my lip, it was reaching below my
Yeah.
lower lip.
That's annoying.
It got in everything I ate,
All your food.
everything I drank. So I had to trim it a little bit. It's still bushy, beautiful.
It's nice.
That's one way to put it.
It's nice, but is it the nicest stash at the table?
I don't.
That is the question. Because
Okay, there's a bit of a surprise here today.
now there are 4 stashes at this table.
There's 4 mustaches at the table. Welcome to the Mustache Podcast
Yes.
with Dr. Shazam Hepler.
So this is totally random. Totally random.
Right.
This was the fact that I saw Evan had a stash going.
I just did it on Friday. I had no reason to. Just Saturday night, I was like shaving, and I just saw it, and I was like, "This looks terrible," and I need it for tomorrow. That was my only thought process. Was like, I need to ride my bike with this tomorrow.
So when I saw Evan on Sunday riding, I was like, I can do that.
It was literally a chain reaction.
Matt just had to go. Need mustache, Voomp, and it like just sprouted out of his upper lip.
And then quick text to Jake, and I was like, let's surprise Lance.
And peer pressure works great.
Let's surprise Lance. I can't believe that happened within 24 hours.
Yeah, this was not planned. This was a 24-hour. Just came together gloriously.
And that is mustache hour.
Real quick, Sully's getting some pretty solid curls there, right?
Yeah, if I can make them go straight, and they're like 2.5 inches long.
You really are like your hands are about microphone width apart right now.
Yeah, they're quite.
That's as far as he can stretch the ends.
Goes out there. Yeah, it's pretty funny when I see people that I haven't seen for the first time in a while. They're like,
What the what?
"Wow, you are really going for it there." And I'm like, "Well,
Really going for it.
Yeah.
whatever."
I once heard that curls get the girls. Is that still true?
Now.
Negatory.
I am Lance Romance.
Have to ask Brandy
Poor
about that.
Brandy. Poor Brandy.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, please.
To his right, Evan Price.
You know, I have a friend of ours and a Patreon of this podcast. Dove and her daughter are working on a better intro for me.
Okay.
Because my
You're
intro is
sick of
getting
yours.
stale. It's getting very stale. But I will say, what I am drinking today is Coca-Cola Energy. I'm not sure if it's better than Red Bull, but it is good. It really
It's
is
interesting
good.
because you've come back to this. I remember a couple podcasts ago you were on this and we talked about the taste of it.
I was going to drink this over the weekend on the ride, and then I didn't want to waste it when I couldn't truly enjoy it. So I was like, I'm going to wait until Monday morning to drink this. And it was worth it, I will say.
There you go.
And nobody else is drinking anything interesting. So
What?
We have LaCroix Key Lime. Key Lime?
Yeah, I kind of like the key lime. I'm not
You
gonna
do?
lie. It has a very sweet taste to it. I feel like LaCroix of all the bubbly waters has the most, sweetness to it.
We've been
which
drinking
might
more
not be a good thing.
Salil.
That big box
Yeah,
warehouse
Salil.
store, who we will not name because we're not going to give them any more credits because they're
Dang
not
it.
paying their bills. Is that where you picked that up over the weekend?
I have to admit that my wife picked this up, so I'm not sure. I would
'Cause I
say
think I saw
yes,
something
Costco.
at that place.
Let's just hope it's from Freddy's. Okay.
I almost got a case of that, and I'm like, I don't know. Don't want to buy something that's going to taste like garbage. But Matt says it tastes good, so I might have to go back.
Buy it
Yeah.
and then leave it at my doorstep.
No, you should definitely buy like 3 of them. Yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah.
We expect a new intro from you next week.
We'll work on it all week.
Get
That'll
on
be
that
my
now.
primary focus all week.
Yeah. I appreciate them because they watch my videos and it makes me happy.
Yes.
To Evan's right, Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking particularly stashy this afternoon.
Stash-tastic.
This midday, wherever we are in this
Yeah.
world.
Wednesday.
something like that.
By the time you're
It's the
listening to this.
internet, though, so that's kind of international time frame, time
Oh,
of all things and
Time
weeks and
You could be listening to this 3 years from now.
It's 5 o'clock
Midnight.
somewhere.
That's crazy.
perhaps. Yeah,
Hello to everybody listening to this in 2023.
there you have it.
Matt, why don't you carry on? What's your backpedal today? What'd you do this past week?
I could just pass. I have so much work stuff to do that it's getting in the way of my back pedal. You believe that?
Not much running or riding happening.
I'm doing little runs. I did a 4-miler on Sunday. That's my long run at this point, or 4.5 or something like that. And I'm trying to walk backwards up the hill so my Achilles doesn't get aggravated. It's a horrible, horrible life.
That's a quad workout. Oh my
I
goodness.
guess it's
The hill, like walking
Yeah.
up the. Oh my
The
gosh,
hill.
backwards.
yeah.
Jeez, Matt.
I know. I got to get this Achilles
God,
cut off.
that is-
I need to get one of those pirate stub leg things. What are they?
That should work. Yeah.
I mean, maybe with a little spring on there. Bounce around. I'll be bouncing around campus.
Blade Runner, you could be.
I could be Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I mean, chances of us meeting each other in prison are high.
That's true. He is in prison for murdering his girlfriend. Okay, we don't want it to take a dark turn.
I thought you were talking about because of your mustache.
I would say that I didn't ride with Evan yesterday.
We were
I
riding- we were on the
we
same
rode
road
We rode
riding.
at the same road at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Which actually was great.
It was a blast. There were tons of people out there on the team riding, everybody in their own little
Yeah,
group
it's
and
great.
stuff. It was awesome. That's a beautiful climb.
I rode what's the Forest Home Hill, and
Forest Home,
I
yeah.
think I did it 5 times, something like that.
Wow.
I thought about going one more time because I think it was going to give me a nice round 3K, and I was like,
3K is still a lot of climbing. Yeah.
it's something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your
Going
guys'
back-
neighborhood, you guys can just go out for a ride,
Yeah.
45 minutes, 3K climbing.
I can get literally a rock throw away from my house. I can get whatever 3K of climbing, no problem.
Yeah.
Without leaving a stone's throw distance from my house.
With being able to get
It's-
home within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Still. Yeah.
Which is nice.
On that ride that you were doing yesterday, were you out there at the same time the Martins were there?
I saw both of them. Yeah, which was really cool because I love seeing those guys. And it's
The
just,
Martins were out there first.
It's just nice to see people, and because it's been you don't realize it, but it's it's been months since I've seen these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
awesome
so
seeing
I saw
everybody.
Sean at the bottom of the hill, and he was done. And then I saw Nels back and forth, up and down, and I was actually just cheering for him because
Nels was hammering. He was pushing
awesome.
so hard.
Yeah,
Love that kid.
And
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh man, he was working hard, and I was like, all right, dig in on this last one. And I actually videotaped him finishing his whatever number, 10,000 feet of climbing.
By
on,
26th. Is that,
is it 26?
26 reps?
Something like that.
Anyway.
I actually forget the reps number because I was just watching the mileage because I know the mileage on the dot.
Gotcha.
So
Right.
yeah, instead of watching elevation or anything like that, where mileage was going to be the closer bet.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I filmed him as he finished, which was cool, just on a GoPro. And I actually haven't looked at the footage yet, but I should send it to his dad. Maybe his dad will care.
Yeah.
Maybe Nels. I don't know if
He'd
he will.
love that.
That's
Yeah.
3 weeks in a row that Sean has gone out and done 10,000 feet of climbing on a Saturday. Or on the weekend. It might have been assigned to one of
And
them. But
Nels
that's
has
3
been
weeks
out
in a row.
there with him a bunch. Yeah.
Well, last weekend they went out and rode in Washougal and did
Yep.
10,000 feet of climbing out there. The weekend before that, Sean did the 10K on Forest Home, and then he did it again yesterday.
Okay, so Sean originally had the KOM on that climb.
yes. That KOM is inspired by Sean Martin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he built it. He made it. It's awesome. It's his. I mean, it's crazy.
It is.
So it's awesome that he had it. And then Jesse Tonkinson took it last weekend.
correct.
Was that last weekend?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was last weekend.
Yeah, it was. You're right. You're right.
That KOM came back into the family
Ruh-roh. We got to send a cyclist
with
out there.
Nels.
Yes.
Stepping it up, bringing it
Oh,
back.
for the 10K?
Yes, it was.
For the 10K.
Nels
Oh,
held
okay.
it. Nels did.
He
finished
brought it.
before me.
He brought it, and I was even like riding with him for a
Yes.
second. I was like, "You got to bring this back to the family."
He put in one heck of an effort.
And he crushed it.
Yeah,
He crushed-
3:21, I think.
which beat
I think.
Tonk's time by about 10 or 11 minutes.
It was
Something
close.
like that.
That's
I
impressive.
think it was like
Yeah,
12 minutes or something like that. But yeah,
He had
Yeah.
put a little dent in that record. So he did hold it. And then I'll in my backpedal there and let Evan take over. Oh, I did ride with Jake.
Yeah, we did. We rode for what, like 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was-
Actually, that was the fastest I've ever gone up that hill. It was the one by Costco, we should know
Lake?
Lake Road. I don't know
yeah.
if it's called Lake Road, but because there's a
it's
different
like
way.
extension of Lake Road.
is that
yeah.
the backside? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's going east from
Yeah.
the
From
bottom.
Costco up. Yeah.
So that was your fastest time up
yeah.
that?
I looked at it and I was like, I'm pushing a ton of watts.
That's
I was
actually
like,
a fun little climb to hammer.
It's too
up.
bad that
Yeah.
I weigh like twice as much as I usually do. But I was like holding Jake's wheel as best I could, and I don't know, it was good.
There was a rabbit up there. We had to go catch that rabbit.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you this while we were riding, but then we started riding too hard for me to talk. I was like, "Oh, Jake, you see this guy with a clip-on air bars, and is your immediate thought that we're just not gonna be able to catch him, or?"
Oh, always say, especially if there's clip-on arrow bars. I'm going to go get that guy. Damn triathletes.
These triathletes, man, I'll tell you what.
But yeah, so we caught him like immediately as we started, and then kept going. Decent clip. Like I was pushing pretty hard, like solid 350 watts, and then I saw some 400 for me just hanging on his wheel. And so there was a draft there when we're going. I don't know how fast we were going, but there was a
About
draft
20.
there. So
Ish,
you were
18, 20, but
it hurt.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
was-
move and going up that climb.
I was
18:20.
I was
Full.
quite in a little bit of a hurt locker
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That was quite tough.
It was
And
funny going
poor
right.
Matt had to go up a 24% climb to get home. So
Yeah, both. Yeah, we came around that guy, and it was funny because he was out of the saddle, kind of grinding back and forth, and like he's working really hard, and we just go really cruising by him. I just reached over, hey, how's it going? Like,
It's just like you're not even out of breath.
this is
He's
this
like,
is
"Hey,
the
what's up?"
We
this
must
is the
have been going 20
rule.
miles an hour past him.
Yeah, this is
I
the
mean, it was
rule of
ridiculous.
passing somebody who's climbing on a bike right next to you. Is
Right.
you have to all of a sudden then look like you're comfortable, even if you're not. You must
Yes.
you must look over and smile like
Same
you're
in running.
comfortable.
We
Yeah.
have the same thing in
Exactly.
running.
Yeah.
that's funny.
For 2 seconds, you got to like hold your breath and be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?"
Yeah. That
Hey,
was
Evan
nice.
Price, backpedal for us.
Okay, so Matt set it up that
I set it up.
I have to be the bad guy here.
You are.
for-
You're kind of the bad guy.
I am the bad guy right
With
now.
your stash.
Picking
You
on the juniors.
have an evil mustache.
I think on
I'm
Saturday
still
night.
the only mustache wearer that can twist his mustache while he plots to rule
So
the world.
he's actually the only one who's plotting over here. Like
Hold
really,
on.
I have to,
Let me bring in a twist.
You can't twist
Can't
like
twist.
this.
Not like that.
I think I have the good guy stash actually. You know,
There's
I
no
think
good guy stash.
There's definitely a good guy stash, and I think I'm
Jumbo
doing it.
shrimp. It's a,
I think
There's no good stash.
that is true. I have the less evil stash.
I have a good
I
guy
think.
stash. What movie is there where there's a good guy stash?
Ooh, that's a good question.
There's not one.
There's not. There's not. There really
The
is.
bad guy always has a
The
mustache.
bad guy always has a creepy mustache.
Doesn't Kurt Russell have a couple like good guy roles? A couple. We'll see.
All right, we digress. Please.
Anyway, so
Evan.
we quickly digress into mustache talk all the time.
So over the last, I think it's 6 weeks, I've been riding a lot and finally starting to see some fitness build, I think, on the bike. Like finally starting to really see that start to come to fruition. I've even been comparing like volume to like Jordan Rickards on our team has put together a massive month. If anybody just saw, he rode like 80 hours this last month.
1,500 miles, 80 hours.
Yeah, so something crazy. Just we have a lot of people on the team. Tonk is riding volume he's never ridden before, which is incredible. Like we got some people on the team really amassing some big volume, and it's cool because I think a lot of us are starting to see kind of that. Robert's been killing it too, and I think that there's been this big like spike in fitness lately. So you know, we need to be getting in a lot of climbing because we're still planning on the last weekend in June doing our Everest attempt. Tonk, Guy Van, and I and myself. So Tonk was gone for the weekend helping his sister move, and so me and Guy Van were going to ride together, and we're like, we got to get over 10K of climbing in. Like, that's all we got to do today. which our plan was not to go out to Forest Home and go for the KOM. That was not my plan, at least. That may have been Guy Van's plan.
We're talking about the 10,000 foot
10,000 foot KOM.
So it's like 26 repeats of this climb.
Yeah, which is
like that.
a lot, and it's like an 11% average climb.
Lance, you're not even
basically.
on the list.
Yeah, imagine that.
If you wanted to, you could be in the top 10.
You haven't gone for yeah.
I think only 6 people have done it, right?
I think only 6 have done it.
It was 2 people as of until yesterday.
Yeah, until
yesterday.
Nels went for it. So Friday rode Zwift really hard. Legs were dead. Saturday did a virtual almost century with around 10,000 feet of climbing. Legs felt dead. So wasn't feeling super confident going into Sunday. But I shaved a stash. So I think Saturday night, the only thing that happened between Saturday and Sunday, outside of me tearing my legs apart on Saturday, was a stash.
Saturday, you said Saturday you did a century indoor?
It was close to a century indoor. Yeah, it was like 5.5 hours or whatever on the bike indoors.
It's crazy.
So then Sunday, somehow I wake up and the legs don't feel awful, but also I'm getting to ride a new bicycle.
Oh,
so I think the combination of
bike day,
new mustache day, new bike day.
That's power.
I think it was nothing to do with myself. I think it was all these external factors that were playing in. But went out there. The plan was just to ride super long. I wanted to get like 6 hours in. So rode out to Forest Home, picked up David Goodman and Mike Guyvan, and we go out there. David was going to do quite a few laps. He was hanging in strong too. And Guyvan off the bat was like, let's go for the 10K KOM. And he wanted to like put it out. Like he wanted us to push this thing. Guyvan just recently did a workout where I believe he set himself on erg mode on Zwift for, I could get this wrong, I think it was 2.5 hours at 280.
It was 2 hours.
2 hours at 280?
2 hours at 280.
He just set it at erg mode, did that. Anybody who's ever done a long
that is
workout.
painful.
Like that on erg mode is nuts. I think you just held that from the start, just boom, right into
I've got
280.
workouts that I have set up on there that are just holding like a zone 2 for me for, it's like 230 or something like that for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Oh, they're terrible. Yeah.
I couldn't hold
There's no
280
reprieve
for like
on that.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
And he did it for 2
He
hours.
just grinded on 2 hours, yeah. And the crazy thing is looking at his heart rate stayed pretty, like he said, he was like, it felt reasonable. It just mentally was terrible.
You know, he's pretty lean too. He's
close to fighting weight right now. So
Man.
we were both, like as soon as he wanted to go for it after the first one, I think we averaged like, and I'm going off his power meter. I'm a little bit lighter than he is. So he was putting out 310, 315 through that first one. We'll take 10, 15 watts away from me. And it's like, we just held that up the first climb. We're like, that felt comfortable. Second one, that felt comfortable. Third one felt comfortable. Fourth one. And then all of a sudden we just get into this rhythm.
Yeah.
Holding over 300 watts each time up this climb. By the end, Mike ran the stats. It was basically the normalized power for, I think we did in 3 hours and 14 minutes. Our normalized power was like 310.
Wow.
It's like 308, 310.
You guys
for
were going
3 hours.
You guys were moving on the downhills too. Like you were tucking.
Oh, we were
and
tucking
you were
and going. Yeah.
it was a pretty well-oiled machine.
I love that descent. That descent is, and we never got off the bikes. The one time we picked up bottles, we rode into the gravel, grabbed the bottles, throw them on, and go. So it was.
You didn't have
no
any help,
rest.
which I think is actually huge. You could have gone. You could have gone a minute faster probably.
Yeah.
With a little bit of help.
Yeah.
Any traffic problems?
No, cars are generally nice on Forest Home.
They're pretty nice.
Yeah,
It's
and
not that busy of a road.
I had one truck
No.
that passed me really close, and I was like, "That guy." He might have been mad at other cyclists.
he was probably mad at us, I'm sure. But yeah.
And then
There's like no homes on Forest Home or anything like that, or other you kind of have to. It's like a cut across road, basically.
it's a through road, right?
Yeah.
So people are trying
So
to get through it quick.
yeah. So, but I think in general, going downhill, you're going faster than the cars are. So
No problems going downhills because they don't need to pass you by any
No.
means.
No, not at all. But the bike felt awesome. It probably is not like I would never advise anybody being like, oh, you just got a new bike, go ahead and go ride it for 6 hours with almost 13,000 feet of climbing.
Felt good though.
Oh, it felt great. It felt
6 pounds lighter than your other bike.
it definitely felt 6. I now realized I was like, oh, this is why climbing never felt like it should for me. I was like, my FTP watts per kilo is not translating to how it feels on the road. Now it does. It felt like that. So
So for the people that aren't super familiar with your new bike, why don't you tell them what you got?
yeah, so I got an SLR1
From what makes that?
from BMC
BMC
and from
machine,
Jake.
yep.
Yeah, the team machine. And it is a beautiful bike. And
What wheels are on it?
DT Swiss.
Okay.
Yeah. Decently light wheels, you know. I mean, the whole bike itself comes out to like 16.5 pounds or 16 pounds, I think.
Disc brakes?
Yes.
How did the braking feel? Cause you were probably...
Well, yesterday I was trying to bed the brakes, so like the braking could have felt better, but then towards the end it felt awesome. It like finally grooved itself. Or, yeah. It just needed...
Takes a ride or two.
Honestly, it was a great ride to do that on because I was having to bed the brakes basically each time I went down the hill. But
What did you say? Bend the brakes?
Bed,
bed.
yeah,
So is it just like the first layer of brake pad?
Yeah, just kind of getting a bit like...
Gives them that groove with the wheel, basically, yeah.
So.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, force components.
Ceram's good stuff.
ETAP,
SRAM, force axis, yep.
It took me a little bit to get used to how those shift, just because hitting both to switch the front derailleur was just weird at first. It just like felt strange to do.
You learn fast, and then it's super intuitive after
that.
that.
By the end of the ride, it was like didn't have to think about it again.
Did you keep it in the small ring the whole time?
Oh, yeah. Me and Guyvan just 2 gears.
Gotcha.
The very last climb, we joked, we used a 3rd gear. The very last climb was the only time I ever switched out of the 2 gears I was in.
Cool. So run through the finish of that 10K.
Yeah, so we were so
I was
off
thinking about
on our
this.
counting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like, so we in the beginning, we're like, okay, we'll take turns counting. I think we literally, and Guyvan can correct me if I'm wrong, I think we made it 5 laps in before we lost count. I think we literally made it 5 laps. And then all we were talking about was like, man, okay, we feel comfortable. We like kept on talking about, we're like, when is this going to hurt? When is this going to hurt? It really did not hurt.
Yeah.
Until our guts started to, here's the hardest part about Everesting, I think, is going to be getting your nutrition right.
Yeah.
Because this is not your typical ultra cycling thing. Like, it's one thing to go and ride 200 miles, even 250 miles, because you can spin down, take time, take in food, and hold 100 watts for an hour if you want. In Everest Attempt, it's like, we have 1 minute and 10 seconds to recover each time. And that's also descending where like you're kind of tense even while you're descending force home.
Especially at that grade at the speed that you're going. I mean, you're
on 45 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like nutrition, we found this one segment where we're able to, and I'm very lucky that I think through my training, my heart rate staying really low. Like even when we were hitting threshold, my heart rate barely touches 160. Like I'm usually high 150s.
Gotcha.
That's like as high as it's going to get. But it is hard for my gut to process anything that's not going to be like Swedish fish and Coca-Cola. Really. Because I was trying to eat mangoes and it was not easy to eat
What
mangoes.
about taking a lap and being like, I'm going to put in 200 watts for lap 5 and lap 10.
Let the heart rate
something
come
like that.
all the way down
Heart
to
rate come all
digest.
the way down.
Yep.
And you're slow and you're drinking more that lap and you're eating more.
Yeah.
And then you get back onto your pace.
Completely agree.
I don't know.
That's actually what my plan is every 5K I want to do is I'm going to take a slow lap. Now, since we were going for this KOM and just wanted to hit each lap on, it was hard to take nutrition and we were trying, but it was hard.
And your original plan was something along the lines of hitting 15.
Yes.
15.
Yeah, 15. I just got time limited at some point. It was like more than 6 hours and it's like time to go home. So, yeah.
So last lap.
Yeah. So
we knew that it was the KOM was going to potentially, because you guys were moving well. Did you know what Nels had done, or you didn't know?
So we had actually caught Nels at some point and then dropped him. So we knew we had the KOM by that point.
Okay.
Now each time down, here was a cool part. Nels, after we dropped him by quite a bit, he held the gap that he had to us for like 3 laps. He was going deep into the like you could see he was out of the saddle. He was putting his head down, and our gap for 3 laps did not grow. And then the poor kid, I think he just barely paced it because then we went down another time and he had lost a lot of time. And we were like, oh no, he still got 2-3 laps. I think he miscounted his laps, or I think he misjudged maybe.
Or
his
who knows? Maybe
there.
he hopped off and went to the bathroom. Like anything.
He
could
may
happen,
have.
Right?
He may have grabbed some water too. Yeah.
Did he start at the same time as you?
No, he started before us. When we were 3K and I think he was 6,700 in or something like that.
So you were just like able to know exactly what he was doing when he was doing it. You didn't have it up on a Garmin live segment to watch and see where you're at.
You didn't
in terms
have
of
his
pace.
time.
No, I think Guyvan did, and then it shut off on him for some reason. So we were watching my watch on total distance, and I was getting our lap segments roughly time wise. Yeah, but I mean, like going into that last lap, we knew that for one, we were going to be tied on the KOM for the day because we literally put every single effort out together.
Yeah.
So it was going to come down to some GPS thing. So we just pushed that last lap, and I mean pushed hard.
Did you guys agree? Were you like, let's just hammer the last one? That's what I would have said. I'd be like, me and you are going to hammer the last one. Whoever gets it, gets it.
Those
no big
those
deal.
last 2, we went really hard on
too.
both the last 2, and the last one, I think we both held like 5 watts per kilo the entire time up the last one.
Ouch.
Which was just like It was that point where me and Guyman were joking after. It was like each time one of us would push, the other one would answer, the other one would push, the other one. And we were both just hoping we'd turn off the engine at some point. We're like, why are we pushing? We have the KOM by like almost 10 minutes. Like, why are we continuing? why are we continuing to torture ourselves here?
One of you guys has
Because
to have
racing.
it.
Coming up the last one, were you guys
Because
neck
we're
and
not
neck?
racing. Oh yeah, we were neck and I pulled out in front, and I thought I was gonna drop him. Like it just that moment when you feel like, okay, I think Guyvan's elastic is starting to
got him.
snap.
Yeah.
His elastic is like never ending.
He just stayed right there.
The guy does not. He has so much grit.
tough.
Like there's so much grit in Guyvan. He just does not snap at any point. And I keep on like I wasn't even looking back. I was just listening for his breathing. And god dang it, he like came right back up to me again. And I'm like, I have to be putting over. I do not have a power meter right now, but I was like, I have to be putting out well over 400 watts right now. I am out of the saddle in a gear I haven't touched all day, spinning at 90 cadence. Like there's no way he's staying with. But we basically just hammered all the way up to the line and barely in front of him. But it was, I guess, enough to get me the KOM. I marked in my Strava post. It's a tie. It's a wash.
3 hours and
14 minutes.
14 minutes
Yeah.
and 20 something
We
seconds.
do
Whose
think
wheel
we
was-
could go under 3 hours. We do
When you
think
hit-
if me, Tonk, and Guyvan
Wow.
went after it, we could go under 3 hours.
When you hit that white line, whose wheel was ahead of whose?
I think mine was, but Guyvan may combat that. I believe it was mine.
I feel like that's like a real finish line. 'Cause
I
there's
think
a,
so.
There's a white stripe right on the road.
It's the only finish line I've seen so far this year, so I'm going to pretend like it's finish line.
So, just for reference, how far off is your pacing for the Everesting record that's currently? Well,
Yeah.
It's 3 times that.
yeah.
Yep.
It's actually it's not even close.
It's not even close. It's
because
not even ballpark.
they did a
Yeah.
third of it in 3 hours and something minutes.
Yeah, that's gonna put them
And
at
if
over
you-
9 hours.
It's
for-
a little around 9
9
hours
hours.
if they go at that same pace.
750 is the record.
Yeah, it's 740 too.
Well, yeah, but the official still 750.
42.
Oh, was that Keegan's was 742?
Yes.
My bad.
Yeah.
Guyman's is 751, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, no problem. Sounds easy.
Oh God.
I just think
It's incredible.
I think you'd have to have a different road.
Here's
too.
where I think we're really losing it. Okay, outside of the fact of like they're going to be climbing a little bit faster than us. Keegan's descending was so fast.
Yeah, he's a pro.
Was incredible. Yeah. I mean, like his descending is what's going to separate him from other Grand Tour guys that actually try to put an effort at that.
Yeah.
Is like you got to be able to descend like a champ because all those guys are going to be great climbers. But God, if you can gain 5-10 seconds on a descent each time, you're not spending energy to get that 5-10 seconds. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Well done, Evan.
All right.
Hey, Hep.
Anything else? Did you ride Watopia this morning?
Yeah, that's fun. Legs are okay.
Legs are okay.
Neck feels rough. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Backpedal, Hep.
I had a big week actually. I had a great week on the bike. I did almost 20 hours this last week, which was great for me.
That's
so,
good.
The week started off. I got on my gravel bike and rode here to the lab and said, "Jake, let's go ride gravel bikes." And he's like, "Oh, I'm busy."
Sounds about right.
One more time. What do you say?
I'm busy. I'm like, no, go home, get on your gravel bike, and I will meet you there. And so Jake drives home, finds out there's family stuff going on, and he calls me and says, I can't go. I got family stuff. And I'm like, all right. And then his wife texts me immediately after and says, no, Jake can go. He needs to go.
I got kicked out of the house, guys.
That's pretty funny.
So Jake and I went and rode gravel bikes for 35, 40 miles or something like that.
yeah.
It was nice. We took a couple KMs, which we promptly lost about 3 days later. But it was great for us to get out. The rest of the week, I rode with my wife a couple of times, which was great. I spent a couple days chasing KOMs around downtown Vancouver, Washington.
Catch anything fun?
Did I catch anything fun?
Like a KOM that you were,
Yeah, one that I've actually tried several times for, and I finally got it.
Which one was it?
It's called the Way Back. It starts out at Vancouver Lake and ends up in downtown Vancouver, and
Okay.
it's like a 3.
Do you have to hit lights
It's a
correctly
2 mile.
on that one?
There's one light on it, but it's a right turn at the light, so not necessarily.
Is there a K1 that goes up Columbia through downtown?
There is, but there's so many
you have
lights.
to hit the lights.
Yeah, there's so many lights.
I think I've seen that one before, and I've never in my life hit those lights on the way back up.
Right.
I actually more likely am to hit all the red lights than to hit any of the green lights there.
So yeah, the KM on the way back, I had to average like 25.5 miles an hour to do it through several corners, which is kind of my jam. So I was really happy to get that. So I went for a ride with my wife. It was a nice recovery ride. I went like 40 miles. We ended up in downtown Portland, which we haven't been in several months because we've just stayed away.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. There weren't many people out. We ended up going by where one of the protests was going on.
Oh.
And it was actually the calm, collected part of the protest. It was actually very cool to be a part of that when we saw it. That's a whole nother issue. But, so I ended up having a great day. Yesterday, Sunday, a couple of teammates pinged me in the morning and says, hey, we're going to do this ride called Ledoine, which is a local Portland thing. It's like the Ronde PDX where it's all condensed steep climbing. It's all the hardest climbs in this one like neighborhood, and which is not my forte at all. But it's like 48-mile course and 8,000 feet of climbing in 48 miles. So it's just you just hit these sharp thing after sharp thing.
Do you have the gears for that? Or you
I did not.
Some of those, I mean, those things are like walls.
Yes, like there's some 28% gradients and some consistent 18% gradients for a couple miles, and then some short, steep stuff that is just ridiculous. I did not have a climbing cassette on. I think I have a 28.
Okay.
And I went with
a real man would have gone at 23.
It was so dumb. There were 4 of us that went, 4 teammates, which was great.
Yeah.
Chris Hannell, which super climber, John Hatfield, super climber, me, not so good of a climber, and Ian Gibson, not so good of a climber. Me and Ian are pretty good sprinters, and those 2 are pretty good climbers. Me and Ian.
That's a fun group, man.
Yeah, so it was just the 4 of us.
That's a fun group.
We had a great time together. Me and Ian just struggled up every steep climb because we both had regular cassettes on. We didn't have climbing cassettes. The other 2 smart ones had climbing cassettes on, and so they would spin up the thing while me and Ian were pushing 400 watts just to stay upright. But it ended up, it was a great day, and I ended up feeling actually really good, way better than I expected. Good enough that by the time I got home, I got to the house and I was at like 9,200 feet, and I thought, okay, I need to get Evan's out here doing 10K and
you can go climb
3 hours. So I did like 5 laps of Ellsworth Road to get to 10K so that I could actually get over 10K for the
It takes 5 laps? I feel like that's a decent sized climb.
Yeah, it took 5 laps.
Dang.
Yeah, to do it. So, but I ended up 80 miles and 10,000 feet of climbing, and I was super happy with that.
It's a big day.
It was a big day. I had a great week. I actually feel really good today. I thought I'd be more ruined.
You going out?
Today's really supposed to be my day off.
It's gorgeous out there right now.
Yeah, I know, but it's tempting. It's also it's my daughter's birthday this week, and we might do something tonight for her.
Fun.
So.
It's a secret. She listens to the podcast. She can find out about the secret.
Right. So that was my week. Jake?
I have nothing really to report. I had a boring week.
Hard pass.
Yeah, kind of like Matt. It's work's good when your hours are down. So and that's the way that it's been. And the running joke in the cycling industry right now is like bikes are turning into the new toilet paper. I mean, you couldn't find toilet paper not too long ago. Like that's the way it is with bikes. It's hard to find. So the moral of that story is the cycling industry is busier than it's been ever, according to certain analysts.
Right.
So between the service work, between new bike sales and people just with general questions and inquiries and just trying to get through all this work, I haven't had time to really ride the way that I want to. So it's a couple trainer rides, and then I did get out. The highlight of my week was probably going for that gravel ride with Lance because that was fun. It was a good workout. And yesterday I didn't get the climbing memo, or I did. I ignored it.
You're like, no.
I'm just gonna go do flat stuff because my shoulder's not ready for climbing, and I just got all of the notes from my doctor in terms of the stuff that they want to do to my shoulder. And I'm like, oh God, this is gonna really suck. There's more to it than
the recovery's gonna be
more.
rough.
Yeah,
Dang
so
it.
I don't know. Which is a good thing because I want to get it done and over with and fixed. I don't know if it's going to be completely better, but I just want to get past that. But I can't go do that climbing consistently, and I'm still feeling it from the the gravel ride that we did last week,
Yeah.
about 8,000 feet of climbing. So just went out, kept it flat, did some 20-minute interval stuff and some other shorter intervals, and that was good. It was a good workout, and yeah, that was my week. So nothing fun to report. So
Number of hours were okay. A little low.
8.5.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not where I want to be. I wanted to be at 10.
Sure, but
So
8.5 is pretty
it's
close.
Down 5 hours from the week before. So I guess I could
yeah.
just average the 2 out and say
Yeah.
that I'm still over.
For a
but-
bad week, 8.5 is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'll take it. So let us jump into some lead out news. Champ Bailey round?
News.
Champ Bailey here.
Lead out.
There he is.
I got a couple things to talk about. This weekend was supposed to be Dirty Kansas, and
Dirty canceled.
and Kansas did not happen, and because of that, several of the Kansas pros who were going to race it did some big rides this weekend. First off, Alex Howes, EF Education First Pro, he actually rode from Boulder all the way to Kansas and tried to do it in a certain amount of time. So rode from Boulder, Colorado, 220 miles all the way to Kansas, which was pretty impressive.
It's not a short trip.
No, it's funny. He had a tracker on him so that you could track how fast he was going because people were trying to do sections with him.
Yeah.
And when he got there and turned around and shuttled the car back, he forgot to turn his tracker off. So his tracker shows him going all the way out there on gravel roads and coming back at 80 miles an hour. Anyway. So that was one. Another one, Lachlan Morton, and also an Education First rider. He broke the world record on the Kokopelli Trail, which is a 150-mile single-track mountain bike trail from Moab.
150 miles.
150 miles.
Wow.
Single track.
Single track.
It's a long way.
It's from Moab, Utah to Loma, Colorado. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's this big long thing. He wasn't really planning on breaking the world record when he did it. He actually destroyed a tire and had to change a wheel in the middle of it, and his lights died in the middle of the night and had to so he had some issues, but he still broke the world record.
How many hours was that ride?
I want to say it was 11. 11 hours, 14 minutes.
That's flying. I was going to guess it had to be like 15 or 16 hours then. That's
11
incredible.
hours, 14 minutes. So pretty impressive that he did that. So another big thing. The other big ride that happened this week, and this is almost ridiculous. When I saw this, I didn't think it was real. But Ted
King's ride, yeah.
did a ride yesterday from somewhere in Vermont where he lives to, I don't know.
It's a famous highway ride, if I remember right.
But he did it all on gravel.
Yeah. I think it runs along a route that he's done before, but he's done it before on road, I think.
Here's what it is. He traversed the entire state of Vermont from the northern border to the southern border, all on gravel roads. So the ride was...
It's a beautiful state.
It's cool that he can even do that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful state, yeah.
The ride was 310 miles. It took him just over 20 hours.
Oh my gosh.
34,000 feet of vertical.
Whoa.
34,600 feet of vertical.
Good job, Ted. Oh my God. That is...
Oh my gosh.
That is amazing. 34,000... How do you... where did he find... You would literally go to a convenience store and be like, I'll take all of your chips. I need all the food.
He had a camera following him for most of it.
Yeah.
And there's I saw in his Instagram story that he pulled into he goes, I'm going to put my mask on and go into this convenience store and buy everything they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how many Coca-Colas do you have? I'll take all of them.
Took all that stuff. So pretty amazing thing there. Two Everesting things to talk about because
it's such an interesting thing that all of a sudden with the COVID-19 thing, the Everesting is
everything just
popular.
blew up. Yeah. And it's because you can do it by yourself.
Yep.
And all these pros, they give them
a real
something.
challenge.
It's a real challenge.
Yeah.
So the first thing is the women's Everesting world record was broken again. Katie Hall had broke it last week in 10 hours and 2 minutes. And Lauren DiCrescenzo, a pro in Georgia, broke it by going under 10 hours. She did it in 9 hours and 57 minutes.
Congratulations, Laura.
Yeah.
I know she's a big listener.
She climbed the is it called Hog Gap Road
Oh, I've heard of that road.
Yeah, it's because Phil Guyman has done a
Oh,
bunch of
that's-
stuff on
yeah.
Hog Gap.
I
Okay.
wonder if it's like north of Atlanta or something.
But yeah, it's somewhere out there that I'm trying to.
There's some good climbing. I feel like didn't Lance Armstrong do some stuff? And I don't know.
I feel like,
there's a tour
yeah.
of Georgia. There's all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was part of the big news. The other big thing was Emmanuel Buckmans is a French pro, rides for the Bora. I don't know if he's French actually.
I think he's German, I thought.
Yeah, he might be. I apparently I'm not as prepared for.
He writes for Bora.
Yeah, he's
Same
from
team.
Bora.
He does ride for Bora.
Same team as Peter Sagan.
He
Same
is
team as
German.
Peter
He
Sagan.
is German.
Finished 4th overall at the Tour de France last year.
Yes.
Last year, he was always in the last selection on those climbs.
Yeah.
He is one of the
Wow.
top 5 climbers in the world. I would say.
So he went out and took a stab at Everesting, and he finished. He thought in 7 hours and 20 something minutes would be breaking Keegan's record by like
20 minutes.
By 20 minutes.
Said that was one of the hardest things he'd ever done in his life.
Correct.
Yes.
Said but it turns out that his record does not count because he did not quite follow the rules.
I think everyone's question is, why didn't you follow the rules? Why didn't you look at the rules?
That's the biggest
Because clearly
question.
he just didn't even read the rules. He was just like, you just got to climb this much. That's not
great
that's not how it
question.
goes.
Well, it was pretty close, but he just had one climb to get to where he was going that he included in that, correct?
Yes.
So he did.
There were a couple rule breaks, actually.
Yeah, there was two things that
Yeah.
he broke. One was he climbed to the same point, but to get to that peak, he climbed the west side and then descended down the east side and then did all his laps on the east side. So they weren't all on the same
But he
one.
counted that first. No,
But
if
he
he had
counted the
not
first one.
counted that first
Correct.
climb, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
But he counted
But
it.
he counted it. And so that was
Well,
one
and it-
rule.
yeah.
Because you're supposed to do it on the same climb,
Right.
repeats on the same climb, not multiple climbs. The other thing is he counted his riding time, not the elapsed
Yes.
time.
Which I think is the biggest rule break of
moving
that.
time, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest rule break. Yeah.
So he stopped somewhere in there for something and didn't count the time that he stopped. It was only 20 minutes or 15 minutes or something, but
Yeah.
he didn't count that time that
But
he
still
stopped.
puts him way closer to Keegan's time than
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Did he? Well, minus the whole starting point. If he hadn't done the climb repeatedly on the same one, would his elapsed time have beaten Keegan?
I'm not sure. I think
we
so.
don't know because
I don't think we know
what that-
because we don't know how long he took the break. I think technically we're not sure.
Whatever device he's using is going to show that. I mean, whenever
Yeah.
you finish a ride, you
Oh,
can get
does
a
it have
breakdown
your-
of your moving time and your elapsed time.
Your elapsed time, even if you pause it. Okay.
It's just like all that effort, and he blew it by.
Did he make any mention of doing it again or taking another shot at
He
it?
didn't say.
I bet you it's one of those things where he's like, hell no. And then he'll be like another 2 weeks and he'll be like, I'm going to go do it again.
Same with Phil Guyman.
Yeah.
He finished and was like, I'm never doing that
Yeah.
again. He's puking in the bushes
Right.
at the end of his.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
5 days later,
like,
he does a 15,000 foot training
Training
climb
run.
because he's like, I've got to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'll put my money on Phil getting it back.
I think you're right.
I think Phil's
although
gonna get it.
I think if one of these type of riders, which I'm talking about the Grand
There's
Tour
yeah,
top
like
5
top
finishers,
10 climbers
top
sort
10,
type guys,
any of those
yeah.
people,
Yeah.
they'll put it out of reach.
There's
Like that in that 720
Take
range.
Bernal down to sea level.
There's
yeah.
probably 30 or 40
Right.
World Tour pros that could easily take down this record. It's just if they
Yeah.
Decide
went
to
out
do
and did it.
Which now's
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
because they're not racing. So
Yeah.
it's
It's a good way to get your name in the news.
Right.
is.
Seriously,
Right, to
yeah.
be relevant.
Hey, if I'm Bora, I'd look at the team and be like, hey, take your best climber, please, and have them go and get this. And we're going to post it all over our social media.
I know, right? There's real value to that.
There
that
is,
I think
yeah.
that the teams should recognize. It's not a pure racing thing.
Yeah.
But you don't have that as an option right now.
Also,
So-
that's a great training day for the Tour de France. If you want to talk about, like, if we were just training, hey, we're only training for Grand Tours here, it'd be like, oh, 29,000 feet is a pretty good long day
Yeah.
to get in the tank. Might as well train for that. Yeah.
Right.
Talk about,
So.
8
Go.
hours of pure intervals.
I don't know if you guys want to talk about the second half of the Lance Armstrong documentary that
Absolutely,
came out.
we do. Jake can set a timer on us, and then he'll cut us off at some point.
All right, I'm going to give you guys a minute or 2.5 minutes. Go.
What? 2.5 minutes? Are
Go.
you kidding me?
You're
Okay,
wasting
fine.
it. You're cutting into it now. Start
God dang
talking.
it. Okay. So
Evan and I have seen it.
Yes.
Jake and Matt have not.
You're ruining it for us right now.
we're gonna ruin the heck out of it. Okay. Here is my biggest takeaway from that, and Lance's strongest point in this documentary is if you look at how cycling media has shaped that era. You look at an entire era of people who were openly, now we know, as a doping generation. My personal opinion is previous generations were also doping. Not to that level because EPO was not around yet, and EPO was rocket fuel compared to what they were doing in the past.
Yep.
But when we talk about the 90s, let's just talk about the 90s in general and early 2000s. You're talking about an entire generation of stars and winners who were now wiped off the map.
Across multiple sports.
Multiple sports, but we'll just boil it down to cycling for that. Yeah, so you look at that, and Lance made the point, certain countries have embraced some of those stars and then squandered other ones. And really hard squandered, like ruined lives. Sort of squandered. Canceled, yeah.
Well, some people have been destroyed and others are still celebrated.
So my problem is, why in America do we allow someone like Jonathan Vaughters to sit there and trumpet a clean team while Lance Armstrong is not allowed to compete in amateur triathlons? Here's my issue with it.
Because Lance is an asshole.
Yes, but
bleep that.
Here's
I'm going to turn the volume up on that one.
Here's in my last 60 seconds. Here's my point: is that you need to look at that documentary. Does a good job at showing why Lance developed the way he is. Now, is that Lance's fault to some extent? Absolutely. Not making excuses for the monstrous things he did. But here's the issue: cycling has become way far away from its roots. Cycling's roots were raw. We're talking poor people riding bikes, miners riding bikes.
That has nothing to do with Armstrong's attitude.
This does. Let me finish before Lance vehemently disagrees with me. If you look at guys like Floyd Landis, Lance Armstrong, Jan Ullrich, Marco Pantani, they came from very different backgrounds than a lot of the cycling world at that time. Not saying that this is a socioeconomic issue, but I think it is to some extent. It is easier to like a Bobby Julich, a Jonathan Vaughters, a Tyler Hamilton. They come from higher socioeconomic. They are more polished. Their speech is much better. They're easier for media to get behind after this.
Yeah.
What Vaughters did, what Hamilton did, what Hincapie did, which Lance even points out, which is funny because him and George are very good friends
They are still.
But he makes a good point, is why do we embrace George? George has admitted, Lance did not force me to dope. They did the same thing. Now,
all of them admitted. Hincapie, Vaughters,
Tyler Hamilton,
Floyd Landis.
Tyler Hamilton in his own mind still likes to pretend
Christian
like Lance held him down and doped him. Yeah. Tyler Hamilton, I will never, but I think is
too whiny for you, isn't he?
He is. He's way too whiny for me. I will get behind Floyd Landis, which is funny because I love Floyd. Floyd is raw. That guy came from. I mean,
What's funny because. He is Floyd Landis is the one person Lance Armstrong would not
even
forgive.
talk or mention.
That to me really showed how much of a sociopath Lance Armstrong actually kind of is. I
think Floyd and him are way more alike than they would both like to admit or realize.
Yeah, I know.
The difference is one is much more of an alpha personality than the other.
But he forgives all these other people, and because Floyd was the whistleblower, he will not forgive Floyd. They didn't really quite go into detail as to why there was so much vitriol between the two.
There may be something else there.
Something else must have happened because
I agree.
Because when he asked him why he wouldn't forget him,
he won't even go into it. He's just like, no.
He was so angry about it. Yeah. But also, what kind of sociopath doesn't know his own son's football jersey number? What kind of sociopath?
Come on.
Doesn't know how to grate cheese or use a potato peeler? Who's never peeled a potato in his life? What kind of sociopath doesn't do that? I don't understand that.
Hold on. He has been very supportive of his son's life after. He's been very, very involved in his child's life. The potato scene is ridiculous. I completely agree with you. That was awful. The man literally almost sliced off his finger there.
Just
was
shows,
it cheese or potato?
It was cheese. It was Parmesan cheese he was shaving, and he took off the tip of his finger.
Sociopath, but still.
But I think the thing that disturbs me is it just those were like two little things that show how self-absorbed he still is. It was his
scrimmage number.
He still is.
He saw his scrimmage number and thought that was the number.
It's your own freaking son. You know
his son may not have mentioned him to that. I don't even remember my own number from soccer.
Anyway, we've gone overboard, haven't we, Jake?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 minutes.
I certainly respect what Armstrong has done, and I'm glad that
it's clearly worth the watch for anybody listening.
Yeah, it's
so you
definitely
can argue
worth
with
the
your
watch,
friends.
but
argue with your friends about it.
There were things that just made me go, oh,
I think the documentary does a good job at giving you a look into what develops a person as a whole. And then you
Right.
can look at that and say, I still hate Lance Armstrong, or you can say, I understand the story.
Right.
Not saying you sympathize with Lance Armstrong, but you can say, I understand the story now.
I don't hate him. I'm the one at the table who's actually
Named
spoken
Lance.
to him, and I'm named Lance. Although I'm 2 years older than him, so he's really named after me.
That's true.
But
It reminds me of that ride that we did on the gravel bike.
This is true.
When we were flying through is it called Over the River and Through the Woods or something like that, that segment?
yeah.
And
Oh yeah, that's right. This was a couple weeks ago.
yeah, Lance had tied me on a segment. Was it like about a year ago?
Oh yeah, something like
And
that.
you're on your gravel bike just hauling butt. And like you tied my segment. I'm like, I'm going to come get you, you sucker, someday when I get a gravel bike. So we're going through there. Legs feel pretty good. I'm like, I'm going to go for it. And I'm just hammering, going super hard. And I come flying up this hill. And there's this group of people sitting on the bench. They're like, go, Lance! Like joking. And I'm like, oh, he's behind me. And they're like, huh?
And I come by like 20 seconds later, and they're like, "Go, Lance!" I'm like, "Oh, thank you for knowing my name." I'm sure they were just making fun of us.
Yes.
because
Yes.
of Lance Armstrong. But
I
I
was
never
just-
know who recognizes me out in the wild, right?
You never know.
You're kind of a big
I'm
deal.
kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Didn't hesitate for a second. I'm like, I
Almost.
know exactly what they're talking about, but
Almost as relative as or relevant as Lance Armstrong.
Yeah, almost.
Right?
Yeah.
So I know
One-
exactly who they're talking about. And it was kind of funny.
One of the best quotes from the documentary, no matter if you hate the quote or not, was the interviewer asked Lance, do you think you're still
No,
relevant?
do you want to be relevant again?
Relevant again.
Do you
yeah.
want to be relevant again? Is
Yeah.
that why you're doing all this stuff?
Yeah.
Because you want to be relevant again.
His
And he said-
answer was, I am relevant.
Yeah.
And not just
I am
that,
relevant.
he's vehemently saying, I am very relevant, which,
I agree with.
yes, people can sit there. He is cocky and hubris, all of that.
Yeah.
But to me, that question's ridiculous because the fact is, did you tune in to watch
it? Was a great question because
Yes.
we're talking about it. And second,
Yeah.
of all,
I'm saying it's a ridiculous question because it is a good question, but it's ridiculous to think that. Yeah, it's like
He even qualifies it when he says it. He says, people aren't going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I am relevant.
yeah.
and he's correct.
No, he's not.
You don't think so?
No, he's history. He's
I think he's
a
entirely
moment in
relevant.
history. If you
Yeah,
look at the
but-
greater population of people on the whole, anybody that knows sports at all,
Yeah.
Lance is a moment in history. He's still not a relevant person. They don't like. There's a very small sect of people that know who Lance is and what he's still doing to this day with his podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that group of people, let's be honest, I mean, cycling is not a huge thing here in the United States. And outside of the United States, they don't care for the man. So he's not
Yeah.
relevant. So the percentage of people who still know who he is and what he's doing, granted, his little podcast does well. I'll listen to him. I think it's fine to listen to. But the greater population, you go ask anybody that you see for the rest of the day, is Lance Armstrong still relevant, or is he just a moment in history that's associated with doping and cycling? He's history. He's not a relevant person in this day and age.
I
I'll
disagree.
I'll
Because
disagree.
I think that if
I
you're,
think
if you're
his
asking,
cancer research fund has historical relevance.
And what's the name of that research fund now?
It's not Livestrong anymore.
No,
but
it's not,
He was still
because
the founder. He's still the founder.
still-
He
regardless.
did good things, but
Yeah.
it was
It
a
is
moment.
Livestrong, you're silly.
It was
My
a
bad, you're
moment in
right.
time. Is it still called Livestrong?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I think
I
that
thought they rebranded it.
No. Well, they rebranded it but kept the name.
Okay, I haven't even seen or
It's a
heard of
foundation,
that
yeah.
foundation in easily 6 or 7 years. Easily, maybe even longer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can assume that the question was, do you think you're still relevant in cycling? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we could assume that it was the other way around, that just relevant in general. But I
yeah.
have a feeling that they intended it to be like, do you think you're still relevant in cycling?
A
And I
better
think his
question
answer
would be,
of
is cycling relevant in general? The
Right.
answer would probably be
He
no.
was
but
he was relevant when he was at the top of his game. He
Yeah.
transcended all sports. Everybody knew who he was.
Yep.
He was in movies. He was in TV shows. He was talked about.
he transcended the sport.
And now he
Now he does not.
he's known as like the armpit of the sport for a time
Yes.
period, and what he's doing now is
Yeah.
not relevant to anybody.
I think he thinks he's relevant because he still has an audience.
Yeah.
He still has a huge audience.
He has a huge
I mean,
audience
you're talking
still.
about cycling, which is not the hugest sport, and he has a big audience within cycling. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he's relevant within the sport of cycling, if that's our metrics.
Yeah.
Because he has, it's hard to say which podcast is the top podcast in cycling, but it's probably
it's
his.
probably the move, yeah.
They actually
Trainer Road is like a huge one.
no.
right?
The move is the most
I think the
popular
Move is-
cycling
yeah.
podcast
Okay.
on Apple's. Yeah.
So I would say then that he is relevant just for that currently.
Now, in my opinion, personally, there is another podcast called the Dialed Podcast, which I think is going to to give it a run for its money in the next year.
We love both of our listeners out there.
I think so, yeah.
But here
both
we are
of you are
about,
very relevant to us.
But we're talking about Lance
We're talking
Armstrong.
about
one of which is my
We're
mother.
talking about him.
He
yes.
was also on ESPN. I think that's. I think he's
having a
relevant.
documentary on you right after Michael Jordan just had a documentary.
Michael Jordan still
is
relevant?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think so too.
Then Lance
Now-
Armstrong's relevant.
If you go and look at the statistics and the metrics and everything that they use to determine whether or not that show that they're doing on him right now was good, it's kind of a flop.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
Because
they may be
he's not
comparing
all
it to
that
the Last
relevant.
Dance. They may be comparing it to Last
Comparing
Dance,
it
which is
to the
tough.
Michael Jordan documentary,
It's
I'm
tough.
sure it's a flop.
That's a tough comparison. Yeah.
That's a tough one. I mean,
Yeah.
basketball compared to cycling is
Yeah.
tough.
Yep.
Yeah. Do I want to watch that? Absolutely. Am I interested in him? Yes. Do I
Yeah.
care about what he's doing right now? Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
But I'm a big cycling homer. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
if you're not
Yeah.
actively on a bicycle and out there competing, I mean, even if you
Yeah.
think about your club cyclist who doesn't care about racing at all,
Yeah.
does that person care about Lance Armstrong?
Probably
Or
not.
is he just a moment in time, a moment in history?
Yeah, but I think that, God, I mean, almost everybody's just a moment in history. You can even look at a Tiger Woods. He's a moment in history. Tiger Woods isn't relevant anymore.
Still playing.
If we want to play by that rule. Well, I mean, Lance
He
is still
won the
doing a
Masters last year.
podcast. Yeah, I know, but he's still not relevant in the
'Cause you don't
sense of
like-
what he was before.
Because you don't like golf.
Might not be the best
Yeah,
analogy.
well, no, I'm just
Okay,
saying
maybe that's a
from
bad
me being
example.
a very casual golfer in my past, like, I haven't paid attention to Tiger Woods since he was winning.
If you put out a poll around the
you know.
world of who's more relevant today, Tiger Woods or Lance Armstrong, that's a landslide.
Armstrong.
Tiger Woods.
No, Tiger Woods.
Lance Armstrong. I'm not going to back off that. No, really. I think what Lance has done outside
Evan.
of cycling makes him wildly more relevant. Wildly
from the
more
guy that
relevant.
still
In
has him.
your world,
well,
Tiger
it
Wo-
becomes more relevant.
Hey,
but not in
do
the world.
You do understand during that documentary, they commented that he literally had contact with John McCain during his case. You think Tiger Woods was up there with politicians
Yes.
during
Yes.
his? You think Tiger Woods,
Sure.
when
Yes.
he crashed his car after cheating on his wife and got the door beat in,
Yes.
that he was contacting governors?
Sure.
No. Lance is more
Hey,
relevant.
did Cassie let you put your Lance Armstrong poster up in the room?
She did actually. Yeah.
So, in Evan's defense, on that horrible
Matt,
analogy,
please side with me, Matt.
I am because I love to argue. I think that golf might not be as popular worldwide as cycling. I could be
I agree.
completely wrong. I think golf has become extremely popular in the U.S. over the past 20 years, or maybe somewhere
Because
in
of
that range.
Tiger
More than
Woods.
that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
Also,
was-
I'm not down talking Tiger Woods, but I mean, I actually really do like Tiger. I think
feel
the
like-
guy's incredible. But I'm really thinking if you look at a global stage over the last 20, 30 years, Lance Armstrong is more relevant.
I feel like early 90s golf was not
More
that big of a
recognizable.
thing.
The Armstrong name is synonymous with something. Literally synonymous.
Not a good thing.
The term, no, it's not, but
Tiger Woods isn't
think
synonymous
of how many
with
things
something?
have strong after them. That became like a thing for a while. It was like you throw strong after something. That was I mean, you never threw Woods behind something. Not that I'm saying it may have just been the name fit better with things than anything else.
I think we need to come back to this another day. We're not,
No, we do,
not
yeah.
making any progress with
We're not.
We'll just continue to argue about this. I'm probably not going to be convinced otherwise. That's
not for nothing, but I get to work with Evan, and it's quite funny because I'll be in here cranking away on stuff, and I'll hear him out there working with his patients, and he loves to talk about Lance. And every
yeah.
patient who comes
Oh,
through
yeah.
the door, he's like, "So, did you watch that Lance thing?" And then it's like another half an hour conversation of him just kind of trying to plug Lance and build
it's
Lance
only
up.
with the cycling patients. Actually,
So-
that's not true. Even I think I've done it with a couple
I
non-cycling
feel
patients.
I think Lance Armstrong needs to hire you as his new.
I could be his
publicist.
hype man. I'm
Yeah.
sure I could be his hype man.
He's already relevant. He doesn't need any more help.
This is
That's true.
I just feel like Evan
That's
should
true.
meet Lance Armstrong at some point. Just
We should
because
bring him
you're
onto the
kind of his
podcast.
biggest fan.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he'd just brush me off and be like, "Who is this kid?" And I'd be fine with that.
I don't know.
You drinking the Kool-Aid strong?
I feel like
Oh, I've
that-
been drinking
is that
a
how it
Kool-Aid
works? You put a
strong
strong
since
after it?
1998. I've been drinking a Kool-Aid. That's fine. Yeah.
All right. Hey, real quick, our Patreons. Again, thank you for that. Just wanted to do a quick spotlight on one of our Patreons who is the Hamness family. That would be Terry and Jenny. They did a pretty cool ride over this weekend. They went out and did the McKenzie Pass ride. Have you guys done that before?
I've never done it. It looks
I
awesome.
have. Yep.
It's a beautiful.
I did
ride.
it with Andy Levine last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
The road's still closed to cars, which is beautiful. So you can go out there and get the full experience. And there's still some really big snowbanks on the sides of the road, which is kind of neat. But it looks like the weather was great. It looks like they had a great time. He went out there, Terry, with his wife Jenny, and they just went and hammered it and had a good time. So good job on that ride, and just wanted to say keep on riding on.
Thank you, Hamness family.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
good job.
Awesome ride.
Yep. If anybody's interested in becoming a
that road's still
Patreon, you can go to our website, dialpodcast.com, and you can find the Patreon link there. You can just go to Patreon and on their website, just do a search for Dial Podcast and look at the different things that we have offered there. And if you want to become a patron, we would greatly appreciate it. So just want to say thanks again. Let's move into our topic for today. We've got about 2 minutes to discuss that now.
Yeah.
This could actually be
Set the timer.
really quick.
Set the timer. Yeah.
But it probably won't be.
No, we've got some time to run through this. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world. 2020 has been, not one for the books. I mean, it's there's a lot of things that we want to just really work on getting past. We've been quarantined for a long time, and now we've got riots going on around the country. I don't want to get into the reasons for that or the politics behind it and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, I think that there's a definite stress level on people in general from, everything from just everything. I think it really started from being cooped up for a lot of months, and then some bad things happened, and I think people are kind of starting to go a little bit sideways. So the topic we wanted to talk about was the mental health benefits that you get from exercise. Wanted to kind of run through that and maybe help push a few people into because a lot of people who listen to this are already out there riding their bike, or they're out there doing triathlons, they're out there running. But for these people to be armed with the different reasons why exercise is so beneficial to you from a mental health standpoint would be good, because then they can go out and they can start to tactfully preach that to people. I hate to use that word preach, because you don't want to be shoving stuff down people's throat, but you can help educate them. Like if you know people who are feeling anxious or feeling burdened or run down, or there's a myriad of different things, and mental health being one of those big things. If we can have these people be armed with some of the things that we're going to talk about, that might be a good way to get more people out there exercising and bring down stress, and maybe make people a little bit happier and get more people out riding bikes, which is always a good thing. I think that would be great. So I just wanted to kind of run around the table and let you guys start putting some stuff out there. I know that Evan was pretty excited about this one, so I'm going to let him start, but put some things out there that are benefits from exercise, and let us know what you got.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think, just in general and I'll speak for the younger generation, just because I do treat some high schoolers right now. And just for that generation, I think as we get older, a lot of us develop either good or bad coping mechanisms for stress in life and the world. And right now we live in an environment where we are bombarded with a lot of rough realities that affect some of us worse than others. Obviously, certain minority groups of the African American community is heavily affected by these when we're talking about being bombarded with certain messages all the time. And for the younger populations, it's really hard for, I think, them to cope with a lot of these things, because they just don't have as much life experience. I'm sitting at a table with the least life experience here, but all of you have been bombarded with stress in your life, and you've developed certain habits and methods to deal with that. When you're young, and if you're a younger person listening to this, understand that your own response to what goes on is all that you can control. And that can be a very positive response for yourself and for people around you. But if you take care of yourself first, then I think you can be a positive influence on those around you. So, first and foremost is you have to be able to work out these stresses with, cortisol dump, and cortisol being a hormone that does a lot of things. But in small doses, it's great, because it can trigger fight or flight issues and can save your life if you're being chased by a lion.
Yep.
But in longer doses can cause health issues. So when we're talking about the benefits of exercise, one of the benefits is that it decreases that constant cortisol dump, as its effectiveness on certain organs, on certain systems too. So it's, whenever people say oh, I just feel like I need to go for a run and just get this worked out of my system, they're really not far off the truth of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
Is when you have this pent-up anger, this pent-up aggression, this pent-up existential crisis at the world right now, let's say, the only thing you can control is sometimes what you do. And as a young person, that's a really important lesson to learn right now, is that if the only thing you feel like you can do to make yourself feel better is go for a run, or in Matt's case, open up your back door and go into a trail that's right outside your door and go for a run, or run around your neighborhood, or jump on your bike and hammer up a hill, you need to make that habit now when you are young and when you have the time, because a lot of young kids got a lot of time on their hands right now. So if you can build those habits right now, I think the long-term health benefits we can go into later here, but I think just building that habit is the very first health benefit, is just the habit itself.
Yeah.
Because it's a positive habit.
Yeah. If you think about it, like the cycling community on the whole for me, because that's where I run in my circles, and you guys are cycling and triathlon. The running joke is like cyclists are all just such cool people on the whole. I mean, sure, there's going to be a few a-holes out there. Lance Armstrong. So...
some arrows getting tossed my way over here.
they're just cool people, but then you start to think about kind of like the science and the physiology behind that. And well, a lot of it has to do with these people that are going out and they're riding, they're getting that constant exercise, and they're kind of like balancing out their lives, and they have this different disposition. And a lot of that comes from just the benefits that come from the exercise, and they're just good people. And I'm sure it's kind of the same in triathlon. I mean, you do get a few more type A's in there that can be a little bit more high strung.
Yeah, there's no good people in triathlon, I think. Last time
I grew up
there's
running.
a Mac guy. Yeah.
I grew up running, so you saw it in running a lot.
Yeah.
Runners
they're just cool, easygoing people.
Typically.
There's a reason most of our circles are triathlon runners, cyclists.
Yes. And those are the people that give you the whole lane when they're driving their car by you, and they're not roid raging you road raging. They're on roids too.
Roids and road rage.
Yelling at you because you're riding your bike. I mean, those people, they kind of get it, but they're just more chill. There has to be a correlation there, folks. But I don't know.
Maybe it's because they're tired all the time.
Maybe
runners. Yeah, if you run 10 miles a day, it's really hard to get super angry.
It's tough to get angry.
It is tough to get angry when you're tired. That is for sure.
Well, there's actual scientific evidence that exercise releases endorphins in your system. It's the same type of dopamine hit that your brain gets if you took heroin.
Yeah. Works off the same system, the dopaminergic cycle.
Yeah. So just the fact that doing that exercise for at least 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week, your body's going to get hit with endorphins. That just makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Period.
And the cool thing about dopamine too is dopamine is released basically with the plan of movement. So like as movement occurs, that's when dopamine is released, as an activity is completed. Now the problem is that can depend completely on the person and the environment of that person.
Right.
So for us, this is why any cyclist who takes like 4 days off the bike, you start to feel incredibly antsy.
Yep.
The reason you feel antsy is because that dopaminergic cycle has not been triggered for a while.
Yeah.
So in the same sense as Lance had mentioned, if you are a heavy drug user, you're talking off the same cycle basically. But that's why I say it's all about that habit. It's just build that habit and you will increase that dopamine threshold. And all of a sudden, your need to do something is now a healthy habit.
Yeah.
So that's why it cracks me up whenever people are like, oh, you're just replacing one addiction for another. I was like, yeah, that's a pretty good addiction to have, actually. That's fine. Because
addiction.
We're humans. We're all based off addictions. I mean, that's how the human system works, is we are habit-based. So if your habit is sit on the couch every evening and eat bad, it's like that's a habit.
Yep.
If your habit is get on the bike in the evening, your dopamine response is you're going to feel good after that because now you're moving and that dopamine cycle is now kicked in. Yeah.
Gotcha. Matt, do you have anything that you can add to this conversation?
I think that what we're drilling home is that this is changing your brain chemistry.
Correct.
Which is crazy, right? This is something that you're going to do, and it will make you a better person. Studies, study after study, if you look at the meta studies, you'll see this time and time again. And the studies that they've looked at are how does exercise deal with combating clinical depression? And it does very well. And then the other thing is clinical anxiety, and it does very well in those regards. And these are all, in the way that science is looking at it right now, it's like these are, the brain chemistry has some slight issues, and that exercise is a method to treat those issues. So I think that my gut feeling has been for a long time, and this is very biased because I grew up running, and I grew up just thinking like, oh my gosh, everyone should be doing this. Like, what does it matter with these people? Right. And so some would argue, like, from a lifetime of doing that, I've come to a very biased conclusion that humans should be exercising.
Yes.
Flat out. Like, you have evolved as a species to be active. And when you're not, when you enjoy sitting in front of MTV and eating Snickers, which I enjoy.
I love Snickers.
You're
MTV was a cool channel.
going against that evolutionary process
Yes.
of like your body's supposed to be exercising, and it's hard for me to be, it's hard because like there's so many people that'll just look at you and be like, I don't like to exercise, and that is like, for me, I'm just like, you're wrong about yourself.
Yeah, you do.
That's
You
what
trust me.
Like, no,
Trust me, your body wants to exercise.
Your body needs
But
to
Matt,
exercise.
there's a pill for that.
Yeah, that's another.
I'm gonna go talk to
know-
your wife and get a script.
do you know-
I want to take a pill.
Do you know
I
what
don't
my
wanna
favorite
run.
thing to hear some people talk about is whenever they talk about, they're like, I think the runner's high is BS. I've run and I never feel good. And my answer to that is, it's not that you feel good. It's so, like you said, that like the human body is meant to exercise. I think all a runner's high is like a tap into your primal needs. So it's like when you're having that moment while you're running where you're just like, this just feels right. Or I have a patient who calls it the aha moment. Just that aha moment for a second. It's fleeting. It just happens for a second, and then you're back into doing an interval and it hurts.
Sure.
But that moment, just like with cycling too, when you're climbing up and your heart rate's at 175 and you're like, this isn't comfortable, but all of a sudden I feel great. I think that's like a tap into what we are supposed to be doing. So it cracks me up whenever people are like, exercise isn't for me. It's like, oh, no, it is.
You
It
learn
is
to
for
embrace
you.
that suck, and you actually learn to like almost want it.
Like an addiction. You
Exactly.
want that. It's a habit. Yeah.
And it becomes like, it's super difficult, it's super hard, but it almost becomes easy, and it feels
Yeah.
like this is as easy as breathing.
Yeah.
Like, how is it that
You feel like you need it too.
how am
It's
I
weird.
killing myself right now, but I'm enjoying it, and it's like I'm breathing,
Yeah.
I can remember being in breakaways. It's just like,
Feel alive.
This hurts, but oh my God, I am on such a high right now, and there's
Yeah.
such an adrenaline rush behind this, and it's so awesome, and I can't believe that my body's putting out these watts at this heart rate at this mile per hour for this period of time.
I like to think that humans have even had that feeling hundreds and hundreds of years ago. If you're
Sure.
hunting and chasing something down
Sure.
and tired, but this is your existence. This is what
Yeah.
you need to be doing. It's like that's still something. I think we can tap into something primal there, and it's God. I so hope that like running and cycling is around when we're like. If this stuff ever starts to die off, I'm going to be a miserable old person.
I think it'll go through waves of popularity and unpopular, but it's not going
We'll be
anywhere.
hipsters at some point. We'll be
No.
like
Negatory.
65, be like, you still ride bikes?
No,
like,
sorry.
what are you doing? They have motors for those now. They're like, back in my day, you used to have to pedal the bike.
I know anecdotally, I certainly feel so much better after just being out on my bike, whether it's for an hour or whether if it's for 6 hours. I always feel better afterwards. I get that rush. I am kinder. I am more willing to help. I'll cook dinner for my wife or just do the dishes without being asked.
Why do you think I got kicked out of the house last week, Lance?
Right. Because you were being a jerk and you needed some endorphins in your system. Yeah, I just
Becca knows that too well.
Yeah.
She knows me way better than I even know myself, I think. And she's gonna let me know about what I just said there.
Yeah.
Trust me, it'll come up. Remember what you said on the podcast?
Uh-huh.
That comes up all the time, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Brandon should also Iron Lance to that, right?
She says that to me as well.
Yeah.
You need
Go get your vitamin D.
Are you gonna go
Yeah.
ride today? Are you gonna ride?
Yeah.
Well, it was my day off.
Yeah.
No. You need to go ride.
Was she
because
talking to
I
Jake
hate
again?
you.
Is it vitamin B or vitamin C? Like vitamin bicycling or vitamin cycling?
I don't know. It's
Does it get your
vitamin
B and C
out
in?
of my
Yeah.
face.
Get your B and C. Yeah.
So just going through the benefits and some of the things Matt already touched on, depression, anxiety, stress. I mean, there's other things like ADHD, PTSD.
Yes.
These are a lot of things that exercise, I'm not going to say it cures them, but it helps manage them.
Yes. I'll use an example for PTSD, and I may have mentioned him on this podcast before, but for my saddles brand, Edge Cycling Technologies, we have a sponsored athlete, Joe Lawhorn, who's a wounded warrior, PTSD,
Stud,
awesome guy, insane ultra
cyclist.
cyclist who has done RAM. He is actually in I think a week or two. It may be a couple more weekends. I'll get the date down exactly. He's doing a ride. He's going for the record across Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So he's going to go for it. But I mean, he's an example of he is very, very outspoken on the benefits of cycling for PTSD people. And I mean, he's very tuned into that population and understands on a very personal level what those soldiers are going through. So, I think, that's I think very similar when you're talking brain chemistry wise to its effects it can have on ADHD and everything like that too, like Jake was saying.
And we should definitely mention that none of us are mental health doctors at this table.
No.
And so take what we say with a grain of salt, but
Google Docs.
Yeah, we're Google Docs, and I would say that this is one treatment option. You know, if you look at the studies, they definitely reference this as like an effective treatment. Not that there aren't other effective treatments or combinations of effective treatments. So people that are depressed need to get help.
Sure.
You know, don't necessarily just rely on, you know, your bike to fix all of your problems. But it fixes some of them.
It can definitely help.
A lot of them.
And I'll tell you what, this is,
Fix them
yes,
all.
I'm not a mental health doctor, but being in the medical field, any doctor who says that exercise doesn't help, I would immediately question what they're saying and would love to hear their explanation because vehemently disagree with them. Yeah.
So we're talking about like the mental health, but like we're going to attack those things and it's going to help those certain things, but there's so many like
Other benefits.
other benefits that come from that. I mean, it's just
Physical and mental health are
if you
very
start sitting
intertwined.
down and just looking at all of the things that come to your way that are positive, it starts to blow your mind. I'm like, my God, this sounds like a miracle drug. Well, it kind of is. Just you got to get out and exercise, got to move, you got to use your body. It solves so many problems. But you know, sharper memory and thinking, higher self-esteem, better sleep, more energy. You're more resilient to different things. You're decreasing obesity, or you know, you're working on like solving or reversing different things that have happened to your body because of lack of use or poor diets. So there's so much that
Increases
comes to
mustache growth too.
Yeah.
It decreases hair growth on your legs. Well, that's unless you run. If you run, it actually increases hair growth on your legs. If you cycle, it decreases hair growth on your legs. Yeah.
Science.
Triathlon in between. Sometimes it depends.
Oh my goodness. What else? What else you got?
It actually helps with addiction as well. If you have addiction issues with other things, that dopamine release actually takes the place of what you're
This is why
brain
Lionel
wants.
Sanders is one heck of an Ironman, is because that man had a very high dopamine threshold he had to meet. And I'll tell you what, I think 30 to 40 hours of training a week seemed to have met it for him. So, yeah.
And it also push off like brain fog or symptoms of Alzheimer's, or it can help sharpen your mind as well.
Yep.
I think when you're talking about increasing blood flow globally, so if you think of exercise as just you're increasing your body's ability to transfer and deliver oxygen, health of the brain is very dependent on your ability to pump blood to it. If you think of what is a stroke patient going through, that is damage to the arteries that deliver oxygen to the brain.
Sure.
So you're thinking if you're a healthier aerobic athlete, you're going to be pumping more blood to your brain. It's, you know, not a far stretch right there to say that's clearly going to increase, you know, or decrease hopefully your risk of, and it's decreasing your risk of, doesn't mean that you cannot get it, but decreasing your risk of things like dementia, stroke risks, you know.
Yeah. So what kind of a world do you think we would live in, or just a country do you think we would live in, if you took the 300 million plus people who live here in the United
Oh, we have
States?
400 million now, I think.
Is it 400?
I think it's 400. It's a lot of people.
You gotta slow down, people. Anyway,
Slow it down.
and all of a sudden,
Could be
everybody
more after the quarantine.
subscribe to
Quarantine babies, yeah.
4 to 5 hours of exercise a week, of cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah.
What happens? What kind of an effect would you guys hypothesize is going to happen with
The 4-5 field would get a lot faster.
4 or 5 field? Will definitely get faster. But you know, I'm just kind of thinking about like all of the rioting going on around the world right now, and all of the stress and anxiety and the issues that we're having from people who've been cooped up in their houses, and the list can go on for days and days. Like,
and a lot of the hate.
abuse.
I mean, you think about the hate we have between groups in this country right
Yeah.
now. I'll tell you what, and this is just me speaking from, you know, being around the cycling community and the triathlon community. If you're somebody who, let's say, is intolerant and hateful by nature, if you ride a bicycle next to somebody really hard for a long time, that brings people together.
Sure.
That really does. And
Well, if you hate them, just go take their KOM.
if you hate somebody, go and do interval sessions right with them, and you'll come to an understanding between each other that it's like, oh, we're not that different anymore.
Commonalities.
Yeah, there's a commonality between us, and we both like bicycles. There you go.
Seriously though, how much different do you think the world would be? And of that 300 to 400 million people, how many people do you think? What percentage of those people would you speculate subscribe to some sort of regular exercise routine?
A lot scary lower than people would like to think.
Not many.
Yeah.
No.
So we go back to the whole thing of cyclists and runners and triathletes having that great disposition. And if we were to take that and inject it into the rest of the country, would we be living in a different world today?
I would so hope so.
Possibly.
I mean, that's a big open-ended question. But
The roads would be nicer.
The roads would be nicer.
Less unsafe passes. Come on, people.
I know. There'd be a lot less chips in the grocery stores, though. So
What?
Yeah.
No,
well,
or
people
not.
would
I
want
don't know.
carbs a lot more, you know?
They don't
Yeah.
want those chips.
Do you think they deal with this kind of stuff in the Netherlands, where everybody gets around on a bike?
You know, I think they do, but I also think that we at times put on pedestals some other countries' activity levels. Most of these other countries that people will reference, they still have obesity problems. You know, like Norway, Netherlands, they still do.
Oh, sure.
They're at a much lower rate than ours, I
Yeah.
will say. So, like, when we point to them and say, like, you know, oh, this group is better than, you know, like how they function as a country, I think we're pointing to something pretty accurate. I think it's just like, I think also, you know, those countries have other issues too. But
I know that we have this superiority complex here in the United States. We think that we're better than everybody else. But when are we going to stop and like actually take a look at like a country like the Netherlands and see what kind of issues they're running into with mental health, with you know, disease and obesity and things of that nature? Because when you go over there, they use bicycles to get around everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like rush hour is rush hour on bikes. It's not cars. Nobody drives a car over there. So they're getting exercise. How much different is everything over there versus here? That's a place that's on my bucket list. I need to go there, and I would love to go there and stay for an extended period of time just to get to know the culture a little bit more, just because it's so intriguing to me. I don't know. I'm just curious. Like,
Be interesting.
Yeah. And what other countries subscribe to that kind of mantra? I know that after having our exchange student, Maria, from Spain.
Spain's pretty commuter-friendly, aren't they?
It's very commuter-friendly, but it's a very, very active country. And they put much more...
God, they dominate ITU, too. They really do.
Who knows why?
Them in France.
Yeah. They put a lot of value on exercise, and they put a lot of
kids.
value on sports, and they put a lot of value on just staying fit and healthy. Coming here, just talking with her, she's like, yeah, you guys are very consumer driven, and we're very much more like about like an experience of life and staying fit and being able to have quality of life. That's kind of what's central to them, and it's vastly different to what our norm is here. And I'm just curious, like, if everybody subscribed to exercise, how much better could this country be?
Yeah.
Will we be out there throwing rocks through windows right now and, you know, killing people and fighting and having all this discourse in the country?
There'd still be some of that, but there'd
I
be a
think
whole lot less.
I think
Yeah.
that particular...
It would help. That is for sure.
I don't know if that's the way I would describe it right now, just because I think people are very angry for valid reasons and angry enough to, you know, cause damage.
Yep.
Sure.
And so whether or not they exercise that morning, they may still be quite angry.
But you got to go even a
I think
layer
it would
deeper.
help.
Like, that would that have happened in the first place if said cop was, you know, subscribed to an exercise routine that would take the edge off? I mean, that's a big stretch, a big ask.
That's
but
a huge stretch. Yeah. I think it's hard to speculate on that for sure. Maybe he did. We don't know. Maybe he's an avid cyclist.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if you would have strapped him to a bicycle and had him chase Justin Williams all day, I bet that would have changed him. Have you guys seen Justin Williams lately racing? Like prior to COVID?
No.
Oh, you guys don't know? Absolute African-American cyclist who
He's
created U.S. national champions.
Yeah,
all
that
that.
guy's a monster. Yeah.
I just heard, I think it was Vegan Cyclist was talking about that with like an appreciation of like minorities in cycling.
Sure.
And just talking about how like Justin Williams is a hero for that group.
Yeah.
I love that guy
Yeah.
too. If anybody watches his YouTube stuff, please subscribe to that guy's like YouTube.
It's
I
good.
forget the name of his team.
Legion.
Legion. Thank you. I think it's Legion Cycling is the YouTube
It's
channel.
just called Legion. Yeah.
Just Legion.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. I don't know. I'm not trying to be idealistic here. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I get what you're saying. I do truly think if you subscribe to habits that are active for you, I do think there's going to be less room for hate and frustration. I do like to, and maybe that just makes me sleep better at night believing that, but I really do believe that if more people who are feeling this frustration and anger, and then the other side too that's feeling hate, which is awful, you got to do something to help your mental health, because I think just letting it sit's not going to help.
Yeah.
True.
I don't think letting it sit and trying to ignore it is going to help.
And I don't think any of us are saying like cycling is the silver bullet. Like but we do think exercise is helpful.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be, you know, the $5,000 bike. It could just be going for a
mountain
walk.
bike.
Yeah.
A walk.
It can be
Maybe even go like walk up a hill so that you get some, you know, more strenuous activity in.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I think
Anything.
exercise.
Start somewhere. Yep.
Set a goal, exercise, find other people who do it, create a community.
There
you
is.
go.
So there's a lot of people out there that just don't exercise, and they're going to have a lot of reasons why they shouldn't start.
Yeah.
You get a lot of the,
My
I
knees
have a
hurt.
bad knee.
Yeah.
Oh, I have XYZ, which I totally understand. I got I got a
Or
lot of
they go
Achilles
out-
issues.
You go out and you do it once or twice, and you feel exhausted, or everything hurts, and you're feeling hopeless.
Yeah.
You're mad at yourself, and you're just in pain. Like all of these things start to add up. And how do we keep these people coming back to the well and keep doing it? I mean, we know that you'll eventually get there. We know that it will eventually become easier, and we know that you're going to be able to, get past those hurdles. What are you going to tell somebody that's going to come at you right now and say that these things are all like happening to me, and I don't want to do this anymore?
Please come and see me, and I'll convince you. That's what I would tell them. Literally, is come and see me, and I will help you do it because you're not the first person to feel knee pain with running, and you won't be the last. So
yeah, I think it's tough because I think any of us that have talked to family or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do that," and you're like, I don't know how to convince you, but I'm not gonna, because we've given up, right? Like we don't even try anymore,
right?
Whereas long time ago, we would have been like,
I have a
do
job
this.
of that,
which is fantastic, right? Because
what if somebody's depressed?
It's not.
Somebody's depressed. They're 150 pounds overweight. Their knee or foot hurt them a little bit, and there's an anxiety about being seen in public or going to a gym or doing any of this stuff.
Yeah,
and just to get that habit started, to create that routine. How do you get that person to
my first step with a patient is, if they're in that situation, which I've had them in there before. One, if you're introverted, let's come up with a goal that's very you specific.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody who thrives off of being with friends, find one friend in a very similar situation who also doesn't want to exercise, and you two together are going to do this.
That support group is huge. That's the big
humans are social animals.
Number one thing. Yep.
I've seen. I think the Bammer group is a great example of, and there's some great runners in there, but a lot of those beginner runners, I think it was a very cool group for them to be accepted into, because now you can look at it and be like, I just had a kid, my knees and back are killing me with running, and I need somebody who knows that experience too, that I can relate to, and that I can, if I need to run a 15-minute mile, I'm going to run a 15-minute mile with this person, and doing it with somebody definitely makes it way more digestible as a challenge. Yeah, doing it alone's tough. There's only a few people I know who can just like train purely by themselves all the time.
Yeah, and like Matt said, it doesn't have to be getting on a bike, and it can be as simple as just going for a walk. It can be, going for a little nature hike. It can be
what are the
anything
Japanese,
around home.
What do the Japanese call the forest bathing thing?
Oh,
there's
I
some
know.
term for this.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So this is like a thing where they call it. The translation is forest bathing, and it's just like go be out in nature for a certain amount of time.
Yep.
You can look it up, Lance, and then help.
No,
me
I
out.
think it's
But
awesome.
It's one of those funny things where it's like, you mentioned, I said go for a walk up a hill, but then you mentioned hiking, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's real value to being out of the city and out of the stress of
it's just
cars.
called forest bathing.
Yeah. No, there's some Japanese term for it, I think. Anyway, but it's funny that there is such a thing as forest bathing, because I think it's just a funny play on words there. But it's something I think is real. I mean, I think that you guys know me as the guy that doesn't like to bike on trails. Yeah, but I love to run on trails.
I love forest bathing.
I love forest bathing. Oh, Shinrin Yoku.
Oh yeah, that was on the tip of my tongue.
That's right.
I just
Oh yes, thank you.
Way to pull that out of your head.
Yeah, I just came up with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's worthwhile. And once you start to get into that routine, you'll start to feel those little benefits. And all of a sudden, you'll get like a little taste of it, and you want some more.
Yeah.
So
Please
highly recommend that.
Yeah. Please take our advice here, folks.
Yeah, everybody that's listening to this, not everybody, most everybody that's listening to this,
probably
it's already exercising, but know these things and try and push that out there. Try and encourage other people to go out there. Help a friend, exactly. So a lot of this stuff can become viral, and we can get more people being active and hopefully riding bikes to boot. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's enough of that.
Yep.
One last thing, Matt.
I always have YouTube videos to blabber on about.
Blabber on, buddy.
Blabber.
The last video. Oh, this is good. You guys go to the YouTubes, find my channel, click on it. Not the singer guy. He's cool, but
also subscribe to him.
The latest video that I've posted is about the Polar Ignite watch, and I'm giving it away. It's a very nice looking watch, and it does all the things. You can bike with it, you can run with it, you can swim with it. It's not the best kind of triathlon all around watch. It's not the best for like open water accuracy and things like that. But a lot of people just want a watch that they can, track all their stuff and do all that. And this watch does that. So grab that watch. Let me send it to you. Go.
Let
comment.
me give you this watch.
Go on the YouTubes and comment. And then I think I'm going to do a video with Evan this week, and we're going to talk about the Nerve Run insole, which is...
That was my last thing, so I'll piggyback off
Okay,
what Matt's
sure,
saying
go
right
ahead.
here. Oh, no, you go and talk about it.
Oh,
because
okay.
you're-
Well, it's a insole that has all these sensors built into it, so it can tell you if you're like pronating, all this stuff. I'm hoping to get that video out on Thursday, but life.
Yeah.
But,
That's one of those
but the
things.
key of that one is that Evan's going to be in the video potentially, so that could be huge.
It's showing the only worthwhile part of me, which is my calves.
No, your
because the
mustache.
rest
The
of
mustache.
me. Oh, no. The rest of me is just a disaster. It's an absolute, just not made for TV disaster.
Okay.
But my calves are not too bad.
Not bad.
Evan, one last thing.
That was basically it. Was that I was going to be featured in a very
Feature.
famous YouTuber's video here this upcoming next 2 weeks. His name is Matt LeGrand. You can look him up on the YouTubes. But yeah, I'm thinking about closing the clinic and beginning my career as a YouTube star
That
after this.
is a
I think
smart
so.
decision.
I think so. Yeah.
Speaking of the clinic, if somebody wanted to come see you at said clinic, what's it called? Where's it located? How does that work?
The Dialed Endurance Lab, and it is located here in beautiful, almost Camas, Washington. We are East Vancouver, Camas area border.
Correct.
Yeah, 1900, 162nd Avenue, B101, I believe. Yeah.
That's
B101
specific.
suite, if you wanted to, literally
like a
look down
radio
at the
call
address.
station
I know,
almost.
yeah. Well, I had to get the suite number down because we always had things delivered here, so I had to, over the phone, be saying the suite number.
Why
all the
don't you
time.
tell everybody exactly what it is that you're doing here?
Yeah, so right now, since we are still in phase 1 in Washington, my services are basically physical therapy related. Now,
Correct.
when you think physical therapy, you're like, well, why would I go need to see you? I don't want to be injured right now, but I do have this thing that hurts. You can still come see me on a physical therapy basis and work on things like strength and conditioning, gait analysis, looking at a bike fit, everything like that as well.
Gotcha.
In the future, once we get into phase 2, we will be offering small group classes here as well, which are going to be strength and conditioning based. And then also for the cycling community, once we get the not beautiful weather, which right now it's beautiful weather, so everybody get outside and get off the
Yes.
trainer. We will also be having indoor cycling classes here. We'll say, please just say winter, because I hope the fall weather doesn't force us all inside. But yeah,
Gotcha.
We'll say
And
winter.
People can come see you for like full-blown physical therapy needs.
Full-blown physical
post-op,
therapy.
The whole gamut.
You could be in a cast right at that moment. Come and see me all the way to my heel kind of hurts at mile 20. That entire gamut. So
Now, are you
yeah.
only working with cyclists and triathletes?
No, I have quite a few soccer players right now,
Uh-huh.
which means, God, I've had to get my soccer touch back. That's been tough. Whew. I'm playing barefoot a lot right now because I played 1 year of collegiate soccer. That is not me pounding my chest. I was a D3 bench warmer, so not high-level collegiate soccer, but it has been a while since I touched a ball consistently, and I'm working with a lot of soccer players right now. So
are.
it is.
You're a very active individual.
Most of my day is tiring, but I'm not an athletic individual, which is the problem. I have a very active lifestyle, and I'm not an athlete.
Your growing KOM list says otherwise.
You also
Very
proselyte
linear
for the Church of Lance Armstrong here. At
Yes. I am also putting together my resume to be Lance's new manager because I didn't like his manager in the documentary. So I think he needs to look for a new one. Lance, please give me a shout out.
Gotcha.
Also, could he come on the pod? What if Lance Armstrong contacts us tomorrow? Not that this is ever going to happen. If he contacts us tomorrow and was like, hey guys, mind if I come on the Dial podcast? Would we allow him on the Dial
Yeah.
Oh,
podcast?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
No,
okay.
we would boot him so fast.
Glad we're all on the same page. All
As
right.
long as he
would be
knows
great
he's not
fun.
relevant, but yeah.
You're not relevant, but please come on our podcast.
But God, please come on our podcast.
Very cool.
That's enough of my last thing. That was like 4 last things.
Yeah. Lance, one last thing.
Happy anniversary to the love of my life, Brandy
Yeah.
Hepler, 26 years this Thursday.
Wow.
coming
She's
out.
turning 26.
No, it's
That's
our
a-
26th
I know.
anniversary.
26 years. That's a marathon of mustache.
26 years. She's so upset about the mustache.
She
And
has
I'm
put up
digging my
with a
heels
lot.
The most patient human
Digging my
being
heels
that we know. Really, Brandy Hebler is the
Yeah.
most patient human being I know.
in. Also, my youngest daughter's birthday this week, Darby. She turns 20,
When's her birthday?
the 6th of June.
Okay.
20.
She'll be in Alaska. She's leaving tomorrow
Oh, that's
for Alaska for the next 6 or 7 weeks.
She's so much more interesting than you are.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I got a whole bunch of birthdays on my side too. I'm excited. It's exciting for my kids to have birthdays,
Yeah.
right? I don't know why it's more exciting for that than your own birthday, but it
Because
is.
Ethan's 1 year
It
closer
is.
to a driver's license.
Ethan's going to be
So,
10
When's his
awesome.
birthday again?
on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I'm super excited. I'm more excited than, I don't know. My wife's got a birthday the next Monday, so
My son's
family
birthday's
birthday
coming up too. He's going to be turning 11 in 3
It's
weeks.
exciting,
Yeah.
right?
We need to have a big like Legrand birthday party.
Bash.
Yeah,
we would
bash.
if we weren't social distancing.
Can we do it in your cul-de-sac from a
Yes.
distance?
Cul-de-sac
Can I
bonfire.
just throw balloons at you? Yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
My one last thing is actually going to springboard off of kind of what Lance just talked about, his wife. She actually has a brand new Instagram account.
Yes,
and
she
I
does.
just wanted to put this out there because I think she's so freaking good at what she does. Her art is spectacular. So she has a new
look this
Instagram account. It's Brandy Hepler Art. You can look that up, and that's Brandy with 2 E's, Brandee, Hepler with 2 P's, Art. And she's got some really cool stuff. And like whenever I see her drawings, her illustrations, her art, it just makes you smile. It makes you happy.
Yeah.
It puts a little bit of a smile on your face, and it captures an emotion so well. She does such a great job with that. So I figured that more people needed to check that out.
Oh my gosh, she has a dog picture on here. I love it.
Follow her.
she
You can be number
yeah.
100.
Yeah.
She has a lot of cool stuff.
She just opened that
number
over the
9
weekend, if
right
I'm
now,
not
I think.
mistaken. Correct?
Did. She's super talented. I'm the boring one in the relationship.
That's what everyone says after your back pedals. Boring.
Maybe we can get her to do an art thing of us here at the podcast.
Oh,
That'd be
she
kinda
would
fun.
love that.
All right, I think that's about it for the old Dial podcast for this week.
Okay.
It's another one in the books. 119 of these, you guys.
Wow.
119. Next week's 120.
120.
Do we do anything special for 120?
Nope.
You hear that beeping in the background? That's trash truck. Hi, trash truck.
Trash truck.
All the new noises that people get to hear on the podcast.
Right
if they
outside
can
of our
hear-
$1 million complex here. So.
Yeah, exactly. So very cool. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. You guys, thanks for coming back again. Hopefully during this nice weather, we can all grab a ride together.
Yes.
Matt, we need to hit up some lunch ride or some evening
Yeah,
ride here.
we'll
And
do it.
Who wants to climb with me?
Evan, you get the middle finger this week. Again, if you're going to go climb.
One of my rides will not be climbing, and we will be doing it together. It'll be fun.
Well, I want to go ride with you on your new bike. I
Yeah.
want to let you kind of open it up, and I want to like see you kind of like embrace like everything
We'll
that
go
that
out
bike
to the
has
flats.
Because all you've done is really climbed on it, and that's
yeah, because
about
I've only
it.
done one ride
Like,
on it, and that was 6 hours of climbing.
and it climbs really well.
Climbs
But
like
you
a
don't.
dream.
You still haven't seen everything that bike has to show you. You're gonna.
I opened it up once on Blake's TT course out by the river. Oh, it was I PR'd that section, which I've done 1 million intervals on, and
Good.
at the end of 6 hour ride, it felt on the flats, on the climbs, the bike is amazing. It's a good bicycle.
Good bicycle.
Man, and the color combo's nice.
It is.
Black and gold.
Yep. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys all listening. We will see you next week. Bye for now.
Chicka, 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 now take it to the right, the left. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Find it, feel it, do it. All right, yeah. Got to move your boogie body. Come on and shake those hips.